Good morning. Today we'll be analyzing the documentary called The Lightbulb Conspiracy. Its purpose is to inform the consumer population about a common business practice called planned obsolescence. Planned obsolescence is when companies purposely design their products to fail after a certain set period of time in order to promote more consumption. People are often forced to buy new products when their old product breaks down, but companies defend this by saying that it is ultimately up to the consumer themselves to buy the product.
This is Marcos from Barcelona, but he could be anyone, anywhere.
The documentary is first introduced by presenting the reality of this issue, claiming that this could happen to you. By doing this, the documentary grabs the viewer's attention and addresses the significance of planned obsolescence.
What is about to happen to him occurs daily in offices and homes all over the world. A part inside the printer has failed.
In order to portray the history of planned obsolescence, the filmmaker starts off talking about the 1920s and the economic boom going on in America.
As early as 1928, an influential advertising magazine warned that an article that refuses to wear out is a tragedy of business. In fact, mass production made many goods widely available. Prices fell and many people started shopping for fun rather than need. The economy was booming.
The filmmaker then quickly transitions into the 1930s and the Great Depression, in which the idea was actually formulated.
In 1929, the emerging consumer society came to a full stop when the Wall Street crash sent the U.S. into a deep economic recession.
Unemployment reached staggering proportions. By 1933, 1/4 of our labor force was unemployed.
From New York came a radical proposal on how to kickstart the economy again.
While painting us as harsh conditions Americans underwent during the Great Depression, the filmmaker introduces us to a man by the name of Bernard London, a radical that wanted to legalize this idea of planned obsolescence.
Bernard London, a prominent real estate broker, suggested ending the Depression by making planned obsolescence compulsory by law. It was the first time the concept was put into writing. Under Bernard London's proposal, all products would be given a lease of life with a set expiry date, after which they would be considered legally dead. Consumers would turn them over to a government agency where they would be destroyed.
As a result, the filmmaker is using historical documents and in a way using the element of logos in order to persuade his audience and get them to understand his point.
Marcos realizes that the lifespan of many printers is set by the engineers right from the start.
The documentary uses logos in their example of the quote-unquote broken printer. It clearly shows that the printer manufacturer has set the lifespan of the printer at a specific amount of pages. Marcus has even uncovered the exact chip the printer uses to count the number of pages the printer has printed.
They achieve this by placing a chip deep inside the printer.
By using a piece of modern technology, as well as showing Marcus disassembling the circuit board, a sense of realism is added. After all, this could easily happen to any of us.
I he trobat el xip, que és una EEPROM, que és un xip on es guarda una compta d'impressions. I quan s'arriba a una determinada compta és quan es bloqueja la impressora i deixa d'imprimir.
Planned obsolescence is not going unchallenged. Here, the filmmaker includes a relatively recent example of a fight against the practice.
And I'd gotten this iPod, it was like $500, $400, and about 8 months later, 12 months later maybe, the battery died in it. And I called Apple to ask them to replace the battery. And their policy at the time was to tell their customers to buy a new iPod.
Apple iPods had batteries that were short-lived and apparently irreplaceable. By protocol, employees told customers to replace the iPod itself instead of fixing it. Here, an actual recording of an Apple employee is used to strongly support this claim.
You might as well go get a new one.
Apple doesn't offer.
No.
Apple doesn't offer a new battery for the iPod.
No.
It wasn't that the battery died that was annoying, because in my Nokia cell phone, the battery dies, you buy a new battery. Even in my Apple laptop, when the battery would die, you replace the battery. But in the iPod, this expensive piece of hardware, when the battery died, you had to replace the entire unit.
The case came to be known as Wesley versus Apple. When my friends and family learned that this was a major case, they thought I was, becoming a radical. Here I am going to sue. I was the next Aaron Brockovich.
In December 2003, Elizabeth Pritzker filed the case at the San Mateo County Court, just a few blocks from the Apple headquarters.
We asked Apple for a number of technical documents regarding the battery life in the iPod, and we received a lot of technical data about the battery design, about the testing of the battery, and learned through that discovery that the type of the lithium battery that was contained within this iPod was designed, by design, to really only have a short period of life.
Apple set up a replacement service for the batteries and extended the warranty to 2 years. The claimants were offered compensation.
Using a recent case that successfully won against planned obsolescence gives the reader hope that an end can be put to this outdated practice. Oh my god, it's Casey Neistat.
A growth society is one that practices planned obsolescence to benefit large businesses rather than benefiting the society equally as a whole.
Reparar-la no li surt molt a compte.
Que reparar-la parlem d'uns 110 o 120 euros.
Tienes impresoras desde 39 euros.
Jo t'aconsellaria que miressis impressores noves.
Així que, sens dubte, jo em compraria una nova,
It's no coincidence that all 3 shopkeepers suggest buying a new printer. If he agrees, Marcos will become yet another victim of planned obsolescence.
Here, French economic analyst Helmut Hugh refers to this growth society as a race car with no driver running at full speed, claiming that we will inevitably crash. This analogy demonstrates the consequences that planned obsolescence may have in the future.
Soit de se fracasser contre un mur, soit de sombrer dans un précipice.